Next, we're going to be doing a reaction to why I'm changing everything for 2025 for mining from the Hobbyist miner. The link is down in the description below. And let's go ahead and see what he has going on today.
Small GPU mining with 4 gigabit cards.
Let me rewind it.
What's going on, miners, and welcome back to the channel. 2025 is just around the corner, and I've been putting a ton of thought into what my hardware strategy is going to be. As a home crypto miner, I've been growing over the last 3.5 years, starting out getting into small GPU mining with 4 gigabit cards, and now up to full-size ASICs. But what I've always talked about on my channel and recommended time and time again is to diversify. And that not only means the cryptocurrency that I'm buying, the cryptocurrency that I'm mining, it also means the
I don't know about any IoT devices, and we're going to talk about this in a second, but I remember when everybody was hopping on the train for the little cameras, which I have some cameras, so I hopped on the train too. But apparently they're in trouble too. We're going to see that from Tactical here in a second.
Hardware that I'm investing into. So in today's video, we're going to talk about my 2025 plan for crypto mining hardware. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and one that is on many home crypto miners' minds that have been in the scene for the last few years, and that's GPU mining. I had the pleasure of visiting a hosting facility just last week that specialized in...
I know those guys. Metered mining. I got to meet them up in Minnesota when I went up there for the crypto mining, the crypto mining conference, or the Bitcoin mining conference from Scott. It was cool. It was nice meeting them.
GPU mining, and I'll be honest, I got a little bit of that itch, but I think it was less of like, I want to buy and build GPU mining rigs, and more of, I want to get my hands dirty.
Should have sold those cards at the peak of last bull run, brother. That's like, I mean, I'm thinking this is like old B-roll, right?
Building rigs again, and we'll talk about that more in the near future. That being said, though, I have not entirely...
You should sell all 30 series rigs and 6,000 series rigs and 5,000 series rigs this bull run. Period. GDDR7's out. That's the plan for this bull run. Get rid of all 3,000 series, all 6,000 series, and then move on.
Exited GPU mining. I actually have a ton of GPUs that I'm actually slowly selling off on Facebook Marketplace. About 60 or so GPUs left.
I think it's a little early to sell them, especially with tariffs coming in. You do have, like, if we get tariffs rolling in, they affect the price of GPUs, and then you're able to sell used GPUs without the price of tariffs, and then add in the bull market on top of that. I think even within the next 6 months, you might see the prices of these used GPUs go up 50%, right?
Left. I've been focusing on Facebook Marketplace, selling them in onesie, twosie situations, because of the fact that when I've tried on Discord or on eBay, I just don't get the numbers for each of the GPUs that I honestly am.
The YouTubers have so much in ASICs, you don't know how they're ever going to be profitable. What do you mean on ASICs?
Comfortable selling them for. And you might be like, wait, why are you...
ASICs will be profitable in the, like, it'll be the same thing. It depends on the age of them, right? But even last bull run. Yeah, the new 50 series cards are going to be the way you want to go, because the new 50 series cards are going to essentially have GDDR7, which is going to make you kingpin on Ergo. And as you guys have seen, like, the only thing that's ever that's been consistently bouncing into most profitable and whatnot on hashrate.no has been Ergo.
Selling your GPUs. Well, I actually did a whole video on this, and I'll link it directly down below. But let me give you the cliff notes. I've had my GPU mining rigs off for several months now, on and off over the last 2.5 years of us being in the current bear market. And I'll be straightforward. I do not view GPU mining straight up as being profitable. And many of you may argue this. And what I say to you is making cents per day doesn't logistically make sense for
Yeah, but you're looking at the price now. I mean, so Red Panda goes along the lines of mine and hold. I'm not fully on board with that. And then, you know, we looked at modern mining, very good video. Make sure you go check out his channel as well. He's kind of looking at daily mining profits to determine whether you shut off or not. I think that's really why I wanted to do the topic on, you know, essentially scalp trading and utilizing those principles and the things that we learned from that to make yourself more profitable than just by a few cents a day, right? Like, you're just not seeing the whole story there.
me, but it may for you. Now, I am going to keep
Plus, there's speculative mining. Let's not forget about that. That paid off a lot over the bear market.
one 12-card rig, which is my 3070 rig, one of my proudest rigs, and it's in an Octominer X12. And I plan to keep that and to continue to speculative mine with it. I've actually thought about...
Yeah, so there, he's covered speculative mining.
At first, I thought about doing like...
I think that speculative mining should be high density, high efficiency cards, like 4090s, like 5090s, and just a couple of them. That's what I think you should do for speculative mining now. And maybe honestly, just speculative mine whatever on your gaming rig, right? Find something that you're adding in there. That way your risk profile is pretty low.
Like a YouTube series.
But you're also maximizing the amount that you're going to get and be competitive with, right? Or the CMP 175s or whatever, right? CMP not as good because speculative mining is heavily leaning on coins that are moving to ASICs. And so higher clock speeds are going to come into play there. And so that would be my only argument against like a CMP 175 over a 4090 or a 5090 here soon.
Series on spec mining with it, but I think I would really enjoy doing something more interactive and once a month doing a live stream or something with the community, looking into some coins, settling on one, and then going ahead and setting up that rig live on stream. Let me know your comments down below. Would you prefer a video series once a month on swapping these coins or a live stream that is more interactive? I'd love to go ahead and get your thoughts. That being said, I'm looking to sell my GPUs and my server cases. They will be listed individually. I decided to go that route on my Discord this upcoming weekend when you guys do watch this. So go over, check it out, and reach out to me if you're interested in any of my graphics cards or GPU mining server cases. Today's video is sponsored by the team over at Pionex.us.
All right, so he's sponsored by Pionex. If you guys want to go over and use that affiliate code.
I'm excited to partner up with Pionex.us to help announce that Caspa is now live on their platform and tradable today. You can now buy, sell, and trade Caspa actively on Pionex.us.
Stop buying Caspa right now.
Pionex.us is the first US regulated exchange to list Caspa. To help kick off the fun, Pionex.us is running a 100,000 Caspa giveaway event. Check out the link.
Wait. Well, I guess you can only... So, US regulated. Oh, so dox your Caspa. Okay, got it.
In the video description to enter to win. So let's talk about ASIC mining.
Non-KYC exchanges are usually what I prefer. But, you know, if you want to go this route, make sure you go check out and utilize his affiliate codes, etc.
ASIC mining has been something that has really taken off and has been very profitable for me over the last, I'd say, 2 years or so. I started ASIC mining in my home mining shed, quickly outgrew that with just the sound, the noise, and the heat, and decided to partner up with my electrician, building out a 12 by 12 shed that he already had for lawn equipment over at his house. And I actually am on version 2 of that build out. My first version wasn't bad, but I was very limited to about 10 ASICs, 1 from the heat and 2 from the noise. And we quickly solved that over the last year, back in August, by entirely renovating the shed and the airflow design to utilize inline fan shroud systems. And that has been absolutely
cool.
amazing. 1, we've added a dedicated 400 amp commercial service, and 2, it's allowed me to expand. Right
400 amp at 220. How many watts is that? I feel like that's not much power at all. And then 80% rule. 70,000 watts divided by what? 3,200? 22 S19s. I guess that's okay. I mean, you're just going to want to go dense as possible, right?
now, as of today,
What is 400 amp panel cost these days? I think when I did it, it was like $2,500 for the work and the cable pulling and everything, and then maybe another whatever it was for the licensing.
the time recording this, I have
Which I think is depending on where you live.
27 ASICs.
Okay, yes,
running
27
inside of that
ASICs
shed.
on it.
Absolutely insane. And diversifying
400 amps. So, well, low power
has been
mode.
huge for me. And I plan to do that moving into 2020.
And like I know he has some of those like smaller, like little miners. Maybe some of those are in there.
I'm very Caspa heavy. We got some Bitcoin miners in there. We got a variety of Dogecoin and script miners in there, and then a little bit of everything: K7s, DR7s, E9 Pros, and a variety of other ones out there. One thing I've done is I've really leaned a lot towards Caspa, and it's kind of gone against a little bit of my philosophy of diversifying. While I'm very heavy,
I'm curious as to why a lot of people leaned heavy Caspa, especially with the cost of the crypto miners themselves, the fast emissions rates, and the quick release schedule of Caspa ASICs, basically very quickly making, the previous ASIC completely unviable. Like I don't know, like I haven't even looked in a while, but like what are Caspa ASICs like right now? At 8 cents a kilowatt hour. So KAS 5 Pros at $7 a day at 8 cents a kilowatt hour. And then you start going negative in the, let's see, what was the KS 1s, 2s, KS 3s, KS 1? Yeah, it's all negative. But yeah, these were running for, how much were these? They're like insane, right? Yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to get deals and free ones sent and be able to have access to people that are selling some used. I don't remember. I don't know exactly what he did. I'm just kind of wondering. I don't think I would invest in Caspa ASICs. Well, I know I won't, but and I lean more Bitcoin heavy. The only thing I mine with ASICs is Bitcoin.
on Caspa, and I'm very faithful that Caspa will have a good opportunity in 2025 with a massive pump. I do need to be smart and diversify. Diversifying is extremely important, and I've constantly talked about this on my channel with a lot of collaborations with your friend Andy or Seb Heslow, talking about the value of diversifying not only my portfolio, but also my mining equipment. And I don't want to venture away from that in 2025. I want to
KSO still
continue
looking
doing
good.
that. And so that
I do have a KSO. It's just solo mining.
in mind, as I look into 2025, I really have my eyes on more script miners. I wish I knew now than just my thoughts of L7s or more DG1s or the DG1 pluses. Man, the L7, I wish I bought more of those a while back.
Yeah, this is the problem I have with ASICs. It's like FOMOing into a cryptocurrency, and anytime I FOMOed into a cryptocurrency, I lose. Like there's no strategy around ASICs. It's like you FOMO in and then you just kind of hope that the project does good.
But I have had my eyes on the L9. I'm really thinking about pulling the trigger and buying one for a January batch. The price is a little higher than what I want, and I really want to get one of those 17 gigahash models versus the 16 gigahash. And I know it's only 1 gigahash. What's the big deal? But I like buying equipment at the top of the technology.
And like I said, to be fair, by the way, the script miners are the most diverse miners you can buy, meaning they can mine the most amount of different types of cryptocurrency, and you have merge mining with them. They're basically as close to GPUs as you can get in an ASIC, and I am all for script miners for sure. I just, like I said, with ASICs, I lean into Bitcoin.
Technology curve, and I do think it's extremely important. Now, I maxed out here when it comes down to my ASIC shed. It's full. I'm at 80% on my 40 amp 240 volt setup there. I'm not going to be adding any more ASICs to that shed. I do have a number of ASICs hosted right now, about 15 ASICs. So I really have a choice to make. Do I continue to host ASICs that I'm buying, or do I decide to look at my third location? We have the home mining shed here. We have my ASIC shed. And do I look at a third location? The downside of a third location is I don't know if I'm looking, and I'm not sure if I'm going to spend the money to renovate a shed or to buy a shed and turn it into an inline fan system like I have here, as well as adding in a 400 amp service. So a lot to think about there, because a lot of upfront expenses versus hosting. Love to hear your thoughts. Do you guys think I should open up a third location, or should I just take those funds and reinvest them into more ASIC miners and host them? All right.
I think right now we're getting close enough to the bull run that you want to just have as much hash power as you possibly can. And you can host them, and it's not going, as long as you're hosting it with someone you trust, then you're going to be able to sell them, you know, for more money. You can't sell a shed for more money in the bull run, right? You can sell miners for more money in the bull run. I've always said build the infrastructure out during the bear market so you're prepared to handle all of the load in the bull run.
So DePIN in 2025. DePIN
or vice versa. Stack the ASICs. I'm already messing up the strategy. I went all reverse. Stack the ASICs in the bear market and build the infrastructure in the bull run. Yes. It's just how close are we really like to the bull run, right? I still think right now we're in the stacking period.
Is like blowing up right now, and to the point where it's almost oversaturating the market. Everybody seems to have a DePIN project out there right now, and everyone is riding this wave of find some type of purpose and add a cryptocurrency earning mechanism into it. And it's absolutely been nuts. Now, my biggest and most profitable project out there for DePIN has been Helium Mobile. And in the current state of Helium Mobile right now, I am not only frustrated, but I'm burned out with the Helium Mobile project. I've gotten profits in the past and I've taken them. However, as a CBRS operator, I have found very quickly that the Helium Mobile team is doing everything in their power to push out CBRS radio operators like myself. I mean, the profits are abysmal. They have been. They're not doing anything to fix the problem with the CBRS radios. They're instead just releasing their own Helium hotspot miners, and that project has shifted, just like we saw with a lot of other
Helium's really gone downhill, hasn't it?
Projects where CBRS was their focus, and now it's pivoted over to hotspots, and they're kind of abandoning the original network and infrastructure that they got into. So that's really frustrating. That being said, GeoNet and WeatherXM have been my most exciting DePIN projects, I'd say, over the last 6 months. I've really enjoyed installing them. You literally set them and forget them. They just work. And I love that. And there's none of this in-between crap that I've seen with Helium Mobile, where things can instantly change in a month because of something was voted upon, and now your unit's not worth it anymore, or it's not making what it was. Helium Mobile and WeatherXM have been fantastic. I wish I would have got into GeoNet significantly earlier when DJ Mines had recommended it to me. Shout out to DJ. And on top of that, WeatherXM, I wish I would have got mine in earlier. I ordered it, but it took so long to get to me, weeks and weeks and weeks, that I didn't get to participate in
6
Testnet,
kilowatt
which I
usable
wish I would have.
Solar.
So my eyes are on a lot of these projects now with DePIN that are in Testnet. And many of you may go, wait, what? Why are you buying hardware that's not instantly earning you profitability? And my thought is DePIN projects have a low cost of entry. And I know for some of you, you're thinking,
see, though, I mean, why not buy the low cost of entry ASIC miners right now? I mean, so I'm doing the same strategy, but I'm doing it with Bitcoin ASIC miners, right? So, you know, as opposed to paying $400 for a DePIN, whatever keyword you want to use for all that stuff. And then it used to be called, what was it called before DePIN? IoT. It's basically IoT integrated with crypto. Anyways, you could buy, like, literally buy a whole S19.
$20. I'm thinking more a couple $100. But when I look at ASIC mining, GPU mining, or any other large scale mining, we're talking thousands of dollars. So DePIN is a great, easy to get.
See, that's just not true. I even just bought saw two S19Is for $250 each. It's cheaper than most of the DePIN options. I think it doesn't have to be thousands.
Get into from a financial,
and then you're also in an easier position of, you know, managing those funds. Whereas, like, if you're buying like 5-10 different DePIN projects, you're trying to like convert, move, sell 15 different cryptocurrencies. That's making you, well, like you said with GPU mining, pennies. But then it's not a big enough amount to like keep track of all of that properly. I don't know.
Side as
that's been my experience with anything, like from the cameras to the hotspots to whatever it is.
With the projects out there. So for me, Testnet is in my crosshairs. I'm looking for projects in Testnet.
I do think that's a good idea. If you're going to do it, projects in Testnet are probably the best. I think that is the best way to do it, because then you have the highest upside potential, because you already have the hardware before there's demand for the hardware. The flip side of that, you end up with a piece of equipment that's worthless. So it's a little bit more risky, I would say, than just buying an S19.
And Star Power is one that I found more recently, just did a video on, which is like an under $100 smart plug that I can.
So I guess that's fair. I'm not going to find anything for under $100 unless you're going with like an S9, which I don't know. What do you guys think, like an S9 or an S17 maybe, depending on who you buy it from, or one of those a mini Doge or something? Mini Doge probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Like an old one. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think S9s will go up in value this bull run? That would be wild if they did. Like,
plug my miners into, gives me some smart plug functionality, as well as it works on home miners, and I'm able to earn Testnet token. So that's been awesome. So if you guys have any DePIN projects that are in Testnet, please leave me a comment down below what they are and why I should get into them, because I'd love to learn more about those projects. So in 2025, let's talk home mining, because that's not changing. As a home miner and as a content creator, I'm going to plan to continue to use my home mining shed. It's actually turned into like my home miner shed, really. I have a lot of like
Star
jazz
power
miners
unit with
in
your
there,
coffee
and
machine
gold
in your
shells
kitchen.
and ice
Nice, New
rivers.
England.
And it's got my server in there and my GPU spec mining rig with my 3070s. Now, we do have...
Oh, look at those ugly green things. What a scam those were. I'm sorry. I can't stand the evergreen miners.
my immersion setup in there, which is not very home miner-esque, but it does get the message across that like you can run ASIC miners, full-size Bitcoin miners from home with a little bit of capital, about $1,500 to $2,000 for an immersion setup, and not worry about heat and not worry about the sound, which is awesome. But I plan to continue to use that shed to increase and grow my home miner setup. More specifically, I've actually had my eyes on more jazz miners.
Those immersions are pretty
Ethereum, or ETH hash miners, should I say. Jazz miners are Ethereum Classic. And you might go like, really? Like, why? Well, I'm up to about 5 jazz miners right now. Actually, one of them is an iPolo V1H that have all been on Octaspace for months and months and months. And it's been crazy profitable as a home miner. More specifically, running Octaspace and ZIL. Now, I know ZIL is going away here, but Octaspace is crazy. If you look at Octaspace over the last year, it has gone up significantly. And I do think this is one of those like sleeping giants that I've talked about this several times on the channel during collaborations. And the jazz miners just make sense, especially the ones that are wireless and that are quiet, because I've started to put those throughout the house during the fall and winter to start to...
Do we really think ET hash is the way to go though? So here's my thought. And I don't know anything about Octaspace, but I always think about like ET hash and ETC hash. It's like, well, it's kind of the worst of both worlds, right? It's got this ASIC resistance built into it to where the ASICs are not as efficient due to it having had resistance built into it at some point and the memory requirements. So it destroys the potential for ASIC miner efficiency. And then it's no longer really competitive to use GPUs on it. And so it's in this weird middle ground. Like, I think if you're choosing to start a project or thinking about what you want to do with your mining algorithm, I think you just need to swap to one or the other and stay off of ET hash. I think it's an outdated, dumb algorithm.
heat the house and not worry about running my furnace. So as a home miner, I'm planning to go down that route and utilizing the shed more and more, especially as we start to look into AI rigs. So AI rigs and AI compute and AI platforms are the talk of the town now amongst the community. Everyone's looking for an
I think AI is just put into everything to sell it to you. And I think by and large, 99% of AI projects will not even do anything for AI other than sell you something.
Opportunity to repurpose their GPU mining hardware. And I haven't quite stepped into that space yet. There's been a lot of great content by people out there like Hawk Crypto Mining, by Max Voltage, by Mining King, by Geek of All Trades. They've all done fantastic videos on a lot of these AI platforms like Vast or Salad. Think of Brandon Coin there.
Salad.
And a lot of these other platforms that are out there, the Flux platform as well. And I haven't really dabbled into it yet. And I'm not sure... I want to get into that world with some of the funds from my GPU mining hardware that I'm selling. And so one of my first steps is actually going to be over the next few weeks. I'm looking at...
Yeah, isn't it weird that Ethereum Classic didn't continue to push for GPUs, right? Remember, they had that push of reducing the DAG to keep 4 gigabyte GPUs on the network. And then they kind of just stopped trying. I guess since ETH went proof of stake, they just figured they could stop trying.
Tempe has a Synaptron node, but more specifically, it's actually an AI node. And so it allows you as a home miner to take some of that old GPU mining hardware and repurpose it to run a node at home that only really focuses on the GPU. And so that is like, ooh, this is kind of different. I can repurpose some hardware. I can go ahead and step into this kind of AI space. So that's really going to be my first tiptoe into this. I'm really interested in a lot of these other platforms out there and really building some beefy rigs. If you guys remember at the top of this video, I talked about visiting a mining farm that does GPU hosting and really getting a little bit of that itch. And it was less on GPU rigs and more of just wanting to build rigs. Remember when you build GPU mining rigs? Oh, so much fun. Also so much frustration.
We know what those were.
Things, but I want to step back into that. But my big caveat, and if you guys have recommendations, leave them down below. My big caveat is that I don't want to join any of these AI projects that pay in fiat. I don't want that 30 fiat. I want crypto. That's part of why the reason that
Well, there's Chlor AI. I mean, the risk you run with any of these though is that they just never get rented out, right? And I mean, even if they do get rented out, then you eventually find, because I already went through this whole process. Unfortunately, I didn't document it because I was barely surviving at the time, all as it was with time and everything. But my experience was, you know, even when you get to the point of running it, getting validated, all that, then people just start renting it to mine cryptocurrency on. Felt like 99% of the time for me. I don't know. That was my experience. Did you guys have the same experience or different ones? I mean, definitely Chlor. Chlor is always getting rented to push into a Hive setup.
I was so interested in GPU mining for the longest time. I want that decentralization and I want the cryptocurrency. So if you guys have recommendations on AI projects that I can step into in 2025 that pay out straight out in crypto, please let me know. I'd love to know more. Okay, so
that's why, like, whenever people use the term AI, I'm just like, it's kind of bullshit. It's kind of a BS term. Like, it's just crypto mining disguised.
I rambled on for the last 10 or 15 minutes or so, a lot about my thoughts of the current states of the different parts of and niches of crypto mining and where I hope to get in.
You're making $10 a day on 430.90s for now.
Into in 2025. It's a little bit all over the place, but I talked about
that's the other hard part is there will need to be like an AI platform integration that basically, and I think they already have it. I can't remember who I was talking to. I'll get the information for you guys. But there is already a platform that does it, that allows you to basically on downtime mine cryptocurrency while it's down, right?
The diversification. And if you guys walk away with anything from this video, I highly recommend that you guys look at 2025 and go, how can I diversify not only my crypto portfolio, but also the crypto mining hardware that I'm running? Today's video is sponsored by the team over at AltairTech.io. I was in the market to purchase one of the newest generation.
2 sponsors. All right, go check out AltairTech.io too. And
Bitcoin
Pionex.
Miners, and Altair Tech had exactly what I was looking for. The Bitmain Antminer S19K Pro, 120 terahash Bitcoin ASIC miner.
What have you guys heard about the S19Ks? I heard a lot of them were dying. Is that still true? Have they figured that out on the later batches?
I ordered from Altair Tech via credit card and was amazed at how easy it was to
I don't have
out.
any, to be clear.
Within 3 days, I had a brand new Bitmain box sitting at my front door waiting for me. Since then, I've ordered a boatload of mining accessories from their store. The Epic UMC control board, as well as 5.
Yeah, I thought he was going to, I mean, I guess he gave us all the
240 volt
things.
L6 30p.
It's just rude not to watch the ads.
Go
I
over
feel
and
like.
check out AltairTech.io today and use promo code the
There you
Hobbyist
go.
Miner for
promo code the Hobbyist Miner at Altair Tech. Use his affiliate link, not mine. I don't have one anyways. But there you go. If you guys are looking for another discount code.
Discount at checkout.
Okay, so that was the end. He just ended it with an ad. Okay. All right. So I think my thought, we talked about all of it, but to wrap up, good video from Hobbyist Miner. I mean, obviously we have different methodologies. Like I think buying DePIN devices when in reality you can just buy really cheap used Bitcoin miners and stack those. Basically, if you're doing the DePIN devices, it's either going to take off and work for a little bit. I haven't seen a DePIN device be extremely profitable for any extended period of time, just little blips. Or you end up in a case where it's just, you just wasted money and it's just a brick, right? I think from just a strategic perspective, it'd be smarter to just buy old Bitcoin ASICs, right? That's what I think as far as that. So I kind of disagree there, as far as that's concerned. The GPU mining, like we've been talking about this earlier today, and welcome to the channel, Hawk. But we've been talking about the GPU mining earlier today, and just mining in general, making it more profitable by, basically risk management on your trading practices and not just market selling. It's a big deal. That's what's going to get you into position to being successful, especially right now when the swings are so impactful to whether or not you're going to be profitable for the day. So there you go. But and AI is not AI, it's just crypto mining in disguise. But at least my experience, I've heard now, obviously, I think in chat, homie said that he had gotten his 3090s are getting rented out for modeling. So I think there is potential for that to be rented out more and more. I think as access is more and more available, right? The only one I wanted to take a look at, especially because we heard about it from Hobbyist Miner, but I wanted to take a look at tactical investing and what his thoughts were on the Helium network lawsuit. I'm trying to catch up on everything, so there'll probably be a lot of reactions in the crypto mining show for a little while until I get all caught up, and then we'll have them a little bit more spaced out. But let's learn.
His last day in office, Gary Gensler decides to file a lawsuit against Helium Network. Now, mind you, we've talked about Helium quite a lot on the channel.
So last day in office, Gensler files lawsuit against Helium. Is that the deal?
One of the projects that did really, really well back in 2021. This is a project that a lot of people who got in very early made a ton of money from. And when you look at some of the DePIN projects, Helium has in many ways been a front runner where they kind of showed the example of what was possible when you bring power to the people and you can build out a network where the people are the ones essentially building the network out instead of a big conglomerate doing it on their own dime. Now, mind you, controversial, yes. People had different opinions, yes. The tokenomics, obviously, those who got in later made a lot less than those who got in early. That's typically how it goes. But either way, Helium's been through it.
Well, and that just goes back to, the problem with all the DePIN devices in general is that really once it's done and it's over, it's over. There's no recurring revenue that happens from that point on, right? Or very little, like very non-impactful revenue. Once you're in early and you make the money, then it's out, and not, it's like a meme coin. It's like a meme token, effectively.
It's series of controversies in its past, and a lot of these are what culminated to this SEC lawsuit. We're going to break that down in today's video. Mind you, I am not an expert in law. I'm just going to give my personal opinion on what this looks like, why they're bringing this specifically, and how it ties into Helium's past more specifically. So that said, if you're new here, my name is Alex, talk about crypto, crypto news, crypto passive income. If you enjoy content like that, consider subscribing. You enjoyed this video, smash up the like. Without further ado,
I don't want any commie Canadian GPUs tactics.
let's jump into the video.
That's a cool intro. I've seen this one before, though.
We're talk about really the history of Helium and how everything's progressed since 2020 to where it is now 5 years later. It's kind of crazy to think about that 4 years ago in 2021 was when we covered Helium on the channel. Helium had an explosive year. It was the top performing DePIN in the last bull market, going from about 25 cents all the way up to $50.
Well, and it wasn't even called DePIN at that point, right? Like, that's a pretty new term that came out in 22.
was just absolutely insane. And those who mined Helium very early on were making hundreds of dollars a day. I knew people that had gotten into mining Helium after watching my videos that were making $60,000 a month with Helium devices. It was just a crazy, crazy time in 2021. Now, for those maybe not familiar with Helium's network, how it worked is...
I would recommend, if you want your GPUs to get rented out for actual AI projects, it's more likely that they will on Vast. I don't know about Salad though.
Helium was on their own layer 1 blockchain. They were not on Solana at that point. They were still on their own layer 1 Helium network. Now, in the process of selling the devices, what Helium had is different manufacturers. So essentially, they had the technology, and without certain specific manufacturers having the access to that technology, I believe as some kind of chip within the device, well, you simply couldn't just sell and build a device on your own. Now, very, very early on, you could do DIY Helium devices. They got away with that. And then you had to be an approved manufacturer, Minted being one of them. You had to be an approved manufacturer to be able to sell Helium devices. And that was back in the day when you had your Nebras, your Syncrobit. And the problem is a lot of these, and we talked about this very early on, a lot of these companies were pretty much no major manufacturing experience. A lot of these, like Syncrobit, complete scam to a certain degree. Nebra, very poorly manufactured devices, breaking down all the time. I consider Nebra a scam at that point as well. But that was a problem. You didn't have a lot of opportunities. Helium at that point was no longer selling.
I mean, does DePIN sound exactly like Solana meme tokens to anybody else? Like that's what I get out of all this.
Their Genesis miner, their very
just with hardware.
Original miner. So you had to purchase through one of these distributors. And then as time went on, more and more distributors were accepted, more manufacturers were accepted. And Helium really did not manufacture their own devices anymore at that point. But they earned because the device manufacturer...
I've had the Hive Mapper for a while now. It was just like every other DePIN. It was doing really well for a little while, and now it's kind of meh.
Manufacturers had to pay Helium a fee for devices being onboarded and devices coming on the network. So Helium still made money, except they didn't have to go through the distribution or manufacturing process. Now, obviously, the devices had the whole idea was that you had proof of coverage, which was called POC, and you had data transfer, and you would get paid for both. There was a few other ways to earn in studies very, very early on. They went away from that, and eventually it became truly just data transfer and proof of coverage. And so amongst all of this, a lot of people got into Helium very early on because of a couple of things. One, you had the idea of passive income. Like, why not? These devices used like 5-10 watts of energy, so almost no electricity being used. And very early on, it was extremely lucrative. I myself, with about 10-11 Helium devices, was making about almost $100 and $120 a day in profit because, well, my electrical cost was pretty much non-existent. So a lot of people wanted to get in.
I like how the kiddos are playing around back there.
To this project, you saw the devices going crazy. Then
I'll put this on 2
you had the network halving, and the profitability really dropped.
Speed them up, boys.
A ton of devices got onboarded. Over 1 million devices around the world were onboarded through Helium network. Now, the problem
I can't even find it.
Very, very early on, the reason a lot of people believed in the possibility of Helium and the real world use case aspect was because of the partnerships that Helium boasted on their main page. They had Line, which is a scooter.
No, too fast.
They had a few others that we're going to cover in today's video. But essentially, later down the road, I don't know, maybe about a year, 2 years down the road, all of a sudden, there was kind of some research, some investigation work that was done. And in the end, none of these companies actually had any partnership with Helium. They had tested Helium's product and to see whether or not it was good for their use. They'd never been officially partners, but because they had been in a test trial or something to that degree, Helium used their branding and logo and made it look like the network could be trusted and buying a product could be trusted because it's been tested and is being used currently by major companies. So there was that kind of, because everyone looks at Deepin And they say Deepin is valuable because there's a real world use case. And it's even more valuable when major companies are actually kind of contributing to that real world use case aspect because they're actually utilizing the network. The problem was none of those companies were utilizing it, and none of those companies approved of Helium, and many of them did not even know Helium was using their branding and image and likeness to promote that they were partners. So a lot of that came out. This, I believe, was back in 2022, and Helium got a lot of heat for it. They had to remove all of those logos of the companies that requested to be removed, and it came under a lot of pressure. Now,
We were talking about this yesterday. This is just a common thing that every cryptocurrency tries to do. We were talking about this yesterday just with new token and coin launches when we were, or I mean on Monday, when we were going over the kind of reaction to the light chain or whatever it was. And the fact that when you looked at light chain, you know, you scroll down and you see, you know, CoinDesk listed or whatever, crypto.com. But then when you click it in CoinMarketCap, when you click it, you realize it's just an API pull that they're submitting. And since it's a token on, you know, ERC20, the websites are automatically pulling those up, making it appear as though they have legitimacy through a partnership with a cryptocurrency that they list under there that they don't, or with a company that they list under there that they don't actually have a partnership with. And like, that's just, you know, something that a lot of projects do, not even just in cryptocurrency, but everywhere, right?
Now, since then, Helium has developed very strongly, specifically focusing on their mobile phone plan, additionally on Helium 5G. Their mobile phone plan is exceptional. Tons of people use it, and it's growing by the daily. The 5G network continues to grow. So Helium in many ways pivoted from the IoT side to focus on 5G and Helium Mobile, which is in partnership with T-Mobile. They have partnerships with Dish, and this all came out down the road. So Helium's kind of had its ups and downs through its history, and you know, from when I got in it back in 2021, maybe it was 2020, but I think it's 2021, till where we are today. And where we are today is this lawsuit by Gary Gensler, as he's walking out the door, files this lawsuit against Helium Network creator Nova Labs. Nova Labs is kind of like the parent company over Helium Network. So I want to break this down because it's very interesting as we look at the history of Helium, how all of this plays a role, because it's not just one thing specifically that the SEC is going after. It's multiple different things that some of these, in my opinion, have a bit of water to them, even though Amir, in his opinion, says there's no water, there's nothing to this. We're going to talk about, you know, none of these claims hold any water at all. SEC's wasted 2 years of their time and millions of dollars pursuing any claim. So this may have been going on for over 2 years, and at this point, it was just filed. So it's kind of interesting to know that. But this is what's coming out. As far as in the complaint filed Friday in the U.S. District Court for Southern District of New York, lawyers allege that Nova Labs, previously Helium Incorporated, has sold millions of dollars in unregistered securities since April 2019 via the sale of electric devices called hotspots. Now, like I said, Helium originally sold a lot of them on their own. In the end, they had a lot of different distributors selling the devices. So it would be interesting to see if any of those distributors come under fire, like Bobcat, Nebra, Syncobrit, Minted, because there's a ton of those companies that actually did the manufacturing. Helium simply provided a portion of the technology that goes into this. So it's a small part, obviously an important part, but that is going to be something interesting. And will this go further to the companies that distributed this, right? So the SEC said that further pointed out the feature called discovery mapping, which allowed users to swap their private data for crypto tokens. Nova Labs also made false and misleading claims to potential investors that companies such as Lime, Nestle, and Salesforce were allegedly using its decentralized network. So this is a lot of things, right?
Like I said, almost every cryptocurrency project does this weird thing where it claims that there's these partnerships that aren't actually there. And there's different clever ways to do it.
You have the sale of the devices. You have the discovery mapping, which is the other aspect. And then you have the false and misleading.
J Rose, GDDR7 is massively better than GDDR6X.
Leading claims, right? So
you're looking at 30% boost in overall performance based off, you know, cores and all that. That's not what we're looking at when we're looking at how much better it's going to be.
So the biggest,
we're seeing a monumental shift like we saw from GDDR5 to GDDR6. Within like half a year, all the GDDR5 X cards except for the 1080 Ti's with ETH Largemint pill basically went away.
Biggest thing, obviously, the selling of hotspots. In many ways, I don't think that really holds a lot of water, right? You have Bitcoin and companies that build Bitcoin miners selling those miners. I don't think there's really anything different that Helium Network did than Bitmain manufacturing Bitcoin devices. I don't think there's really that much of a difference. Obviously, the only difference in this aspect is Bitmain isn't the owner of Bitcoin, right? They don't control Bitcoin, right? So I think that might be the slight difference. But in the end, I don't see there being that much of a difference. Now, obviously, the feature called discovery mapping allowed users to swap their private data for crypto tokens. That's kind of like, these are all going from small scale to medium scale to large scale. And I think that could possibly be one of the things that stands out compared to, the devices themselves. And then obviously, the false and misleading claims to potential investors is probably the one, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, I should have said 90 series. Or
just because of the simple fact
well, I have to look
this
again.
Was a situation Helium dealt with very publicly back in, I guess, 2022. And there was a lot of things that came out at that point when it comes to the Helium networks, alongside of other people talking about Helium networks wasn't actually being utilized, that the money they were generating was really from device sales and not actually from the use case of the network. There's just a lot of really things that happened back.
Just reacted to your 2025 plans. We'll have it clipped up later for you to watch. But was just talking about you, bro. I guess your ears were burning.
Then, and I think this is probably the one that's gotten the most attention.
Trying to catch up on all the things.
And most people are probably familiar with. Now, this is in 2022 that Nova Labs told Decrypt that they would adopt a much more rigorous process for marketing brand partnerships following the disputes from Salesforce Lime, which Nova said had tested Helium products. So that was the purpose when they posted Lime and Netzel, when they posted Salesforce. Many people, including myself, had the perception that these companies were actually using Helium products on a daily basis. Not that they had done a test and did not move forward with the company at all, right? So that is completely different. It's kind of saying, you are a eater of ribs. If you tasted ribs one time, you never ate ribs again, and say, hey, I eat ribs all the time because you tested it once. It just doesn't make sense. And that was the whole debacle that happened back in 2022. So Nova Labs knew or recklessly disregarded that Nestle, Salesforce, and Lime were neither Nova Labs customers nor users of Nova Labs network. Lawyer said in the lawsuit, adding that the companies sent cease and desist letters to Nova Labs over the matter. Nova Labs' false and misleading statements to potential investors touting business relationships that did not exist violated the anti-fraud provisions of the federal securities laws. That, in my opinion, is the thing that holds the most water, because this is actually something that a lot of things happen over, right? Maybe it's not the discovery aspect, maybe it's not the devices themselves, but that portion, in my opinion, and not a lawyer expert, but I know the type of frustration and annoyance. In my opinion, I thought there was going to be some kind of class action because of this happening, because a lot of people bought devices because they thought Salesforce and Lime were users of the network, right? It was a whole perception thing. Now, obviously, I don't think
I ever thought that. I'm trying to think back to when all that was going down.
Website that they said Nestle and Salesforce and Lime use Helium's network. They just simply had them listed as partners. So you kind of have that gray area as like, could you technically say that they're a partner? Yet they use our product, but yeah, that was kind of why they pivoted and say, hey, we're going to be a little more rigorous into how we frame things and how we say things.
Well, I don't have any commercials, so you got to watch everybody else's commercials. What can I say?
So in the end, I think the biggest thing right now for Helium, when you look at it, is the positive aspect of all this is you have a time in the United States where you have a president, you have a legislature that is very pro-crypto. So at a time for something like this to come out, it probably could have been at a more opportune time to have a lot more law.
Yeah, I think just based off of the Trump administration coming in and the friendly crypto, basically all of the friendly crypto regulation that's going into place surrounding the current kind of administration, I think this just gets shut down, especially with Gary Gensler getting fired. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if like somebody from the administration steps in and says no.
In your favor from a lot of the individuals in leadership positions. So I don't know where this is going to go. Is it going to go anywhere? Maybe. Is it not? I'm not sure. I know Helium has a ton of money, or Nova Labs has a ton of money. They're more than capable to fight this. I don't know if this is going to be something that they're going to pay a fine and then move forward. I don't suspect this is going to be a shutdown Helium, and as a whole, I don't think that was even a part of what this was intended to do. I think the biggest thing was to pay a civil penalty. The amount has not been determined, and to be barred from dealing in unregistered security offerings. So I don't know what that means as far as dealing in unregistered security offerings. Can they keep the current network? Can they expand the network? That's the kind of unknown as to what this is going to look like. Obviously, having this at a time where there's going to be a new SEC commissioner, new overall leaders in this type of portion of crypto, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this. But in my opinion, I don't really think this changes a whole lot. I think this only makes it a legal aspect because there was a lawsuit. Everyone really knew all of these things previously existed. In this aspect, Gary Gensler, as his kind of, last act, wanted to, smear this in the face of Helium. I've had my personal tiffs with Helium in the past as far as some of the things that have happened on the network. But in the end, I think there's still a lot of positive things. I think there's a huge opportunity with what they're doing with their partnership with T-Mobile. Obviously, they have their partnership with Dish. I think there's a ton of potential in the 5G aspect. There is, and as you can look at the numbers, they're continuously growing. So I have nothing but positive things to say about Helium. I also think that if Helium loses in something like this is going to look really, really bad on the Deepin sector as a whole, and it's really going to put it under a lot more scrutiny. I hope that's not going to happen. I hope that's not going to be the case. I really do hope that Helium has everything that they need to fight this. And I'm more than happy to even though Amir and I have had our differences in the past, I'm more than happy to have him on the channel and talk about, what does this look like for Helium, whatever he is able to share, what he may not be able to share. I'm sure there's some that he's not able to share, but obviously he's pretty upset about this whole situation. He's talked about it.
Gotta ask Hobbyist what he thinks about
Twitter,
it.
so I'd be interested to see what he has. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on this whole situation? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like.
Make sure you guys go like the video. And that was pretty good. He caught me all up. So thanks, Tactical, for catching me all up on the DePIN, or not the DePIN. That's a different subject. But on Helium specifically with the lawsuit here. I knew about 2 of the 3 things. Like I said, I don't think any of it's big enough of a deal, in my humble opinion. I think he'll get all thrown out. At the same time, I don't think it really went in the direction that or Helium, I don't think is headed in the direction where you're going to be able to, I guess, scale any meaningful revenue off of them, but I could be wrong. That's a whole other subject though. But yeah, I don't think the lawsuit's going to mean anything. I hope you enjoyed this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. If you would like to see more from this particular episode, take a look up here. Don't forget to also subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support me directly, you can go to sonofatech.locals.com and become a member. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next Tuesday.